Blender. So this is where we were. Just by the way, this whole wireframe thing in Blender 2.8 is pretty cool. That you can drag the slider and... Thank you for playing fair. Okay. I don't know if the other people have left now. Do you think they're gone? Probably. I don't know. Okay. What I was saying was that this wireframe little slider over there is very cool. It like takes away, it has like a Fresnel effect to your wireframe, which makes it look cool. There's no other real benefit of it that I know of, but it does make it a lot easier. So this is where we were, and the one thing that I just want to make sure you guys do notice is the density of the mesh. Okay, it is still very low poly. Okay, all my edge loops are in place. Hey, I think they're back. Hello, hello, hello. Guess we'll never know. So as I was saying, the density of the mesh is still very low, and all the edge loops that I wanted to have that we spoke about last week, for instance, the loops going around the eyes and the loops going around the eyebrow, going over the bridge of the nose, they're all there and in place and working well. Okay. We also very clearly have the loops going around the mouth. Okay. So if I, for instance, do that, we can see the loops are going there, loops going around the lips. What I've done here isn't actually ideal. You preferably want that loop to flow into that loop over there, but we can fix that later. And then lastly, that loop going from the chin all the way through that nasal crease around the nostril. Wherever it goes then, if it goes up there, that's fine. That's a weird line. But that's just getting rid of some edge loops so that these don't go all the way back into the rest of the head and neck and whatever. So that's actually not too bad. We may potentially just move them up a bit further because there will be a lot of deformations here, but not so much over here. So those, next week, when we look at the final polishing of the mesh, we can maybe just take those up edge loop or two so that they don't have any effect on that section of the eyebrow. Okay, so it also keeps a lot of its shape when the subsurface modifier has been applied, or at least activated. And the other thing, please take note, his eyes are closed, which is what we mentioned last time. We'll open it up later once we've finished unwrapping him, which we also do next week or the following week, I think. Okay, so let's get our new reference images in. As I said, I will share the video with the whole process of the head, or the time lapse at least, so that you guys can see that. So I'm just going to hide him for now. I'm going to re-enable my image planes, which I should have renamed, but I didn't. And then I believe you can just swap them out over here. Okay, so with the front one selected, you can go into this dialog box over there, click on the little folder icon, go and find your files, which would be preferably where you saved them. And then, okay, that didn't do it, so let's try that one probably. There we... No, not working. That's weird. Is it packed? Okay, let's delete it and open a new one, maybe. Otherwise, we'll just... Oh, that's bizarre. Have I got the right one selected? Okay, you need to have the right one selected when you do that, which makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Okay, cool. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, that's what I want. From the right view, I obviously don't want that one. I want my side view, and then we can get started. Okay, so now still lined up, which is exactly how we want it. And what we can do probably for this front view, I prefer modeling on the right hand side of the character for some reason. I don't know why. I've always done it that way. We can probably just flip this as well, potentially. Let's see, one of these should do it. Oh, yes, you can just scale it down. So you can go scale in X, holding control, and then do that, which is new. You couldn't previously in Blender. These weren't accessible via the viewport. Okay, cool. Then what we need to do is reposition our head and our eyeballs, if we have eyeballs, or eyeball, okay, just so that everything fits. What we can also do is just move him down, let's say down that much. Okay, held control in. No, but you mustn't be scaled. Let's just get this one working as well. Come on. That one's fine. This one's looking the wrong way. Okay, for some reason it was moving both. Let's see, still. Okay, perfect. So that the dude standing on the floor grid, okay, that's preferable. Okay, let's just check those two off. Cool. Now we can scale this down. I'm going to parent the eyeball to the head. So just select it, Shift P, and say set parent to object. That way, I don't have to select them both separately. So eyeball's there, apparently. And then I'm just going to, because my front view was my main reference that I stuck to a little bit better than the side view, I'm just going to scale it down to match again, more or less. Obviously, this doesn't have to be perfect because, well, it really doesn't make such a big difference if it's that or that. But let's get it as close as we can. Cool. So there we now have our head in the right place. Let's put it like that. Everything matches up with these references. If it doesn't, I can push it a little bit forward still. So let's say, there we go. So I did, as you can see here, I strayed away a little bit from the side view, but I was happy with the front view. So this was more of a secondary reference than that one. Okay, so now what we have to do is do the body. And the exact same process works for the body as what worked for the head. Create a new cube, cut it in half. So Control R gives you your insert edge loop tool. Okay, and then delete all of those faces. Okay, and then we apply the mirror modifier over there. Be sure to turn on clipping so that your edges or your verts on the edge over there don't go through the center point or the center line. And then we do exactly what we did with the first one, with the head. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I just want to do this definitely in the wireframe mode. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull these up. Let's say that's pretty much what the neck's going to be. Something's weird. These controls are funny. Okay, and these I'm going to position. Basically, we block out the torso, we pull out the arms and the legs from that. Okay, so wherever we put these would be pretty much where our belt line would go. Waistline, I suppose. So I'm going to put them over there. And then those two for now is pretty much where my neck is. Well, where his neck is. Okay, so there's that. Pull that out a little bit. And jump to the side. I'm just going to add in a center line down the middle, so long. Okay, which we can then. So it was weird. So I'm just gonna okay, that in case you're wondering, in 2.79, if you press A, it's selected, and if you press A again, it deselected. In 2.8, they made it that A selects and double A deselects, and sometimes it gets annoying, so I just turned it off. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so again, I'm just pulling these roughly where we need them. Okay. So I'm just going to save this for a second. So Alt A is deselect. Oh. How do you spell pigeon? Okay, I just want to reset this. I suspect some of the settings have been changed, so I just want to say Node factory settings. Okay, open my file again. Never mind. Okay, that's all I need for now. Okay. So just going to unplug this tablet. Okay, so now I'm also just going to delete those faces for now, as well as the ones where the neck would be. Nope, not that one. That one and that one. I wish you could just click on, there we go. Now it's doing what I wanted to. That's better. Cool. Let's add another edge dip over there. Pull that down, pull that down. Let me put that underneath where his chest is going to go. Add another one over there. Nice big belly. Go. Hey, there we go. Nifty button, that one. Okay. Make sure from the side everything looks okay. Doesn't, then just move it. Probably going to need a line over there, as well as one in the back. Okay, and remember the whole point of this whole process of modeling is to end up with lower poly models than what potentially other techniques would be able to give you. So for instance, if you were to have a sculpt which you then retopologize, doing this will definitely give you a lower res model than what a retopologized mesh would. So that's something to remember. Let's see there. Okay, those definitely need to come out to there. So that would be the thickest part of his back. And then his spine would go in a little bit, probably. Somewhat like that. Okay. And if I do stick with this drawing, then his neck also needs to come out a little bit. That is correct. Stefan says, I think it's Stefan. Some unnamed person in the class next door says, and lower res models are easier to rig and unwrap, which is very true. So I'm just, that nifty tool over there, I'm sure all of you guys are aware of it from 2.79. That is the proportional editing tool. So if you click on connected, that's my favorite one. It basically only, let me just show you over here. If you have it on connected, wait, if you have it on just enable, right, and you scroll your mouse, so for instance there it's affecting the top and the bottom lip, even though the top and the bottom lip aren't connected. If you put it on connected, then it's only going to affect the top lip. Okay, so it doesn't affect geometry which is close by but unconnected. Okay, so it's only connected geometry. So that's a very nifty thing, I must say. That is basically like, there used to be a similar tool in Softimage they used a lot, and this is a lot like that was. Okay, so I'm just pulling that all the way out to match up with the reference drawing. There we go. Okay, back to wireframe. You can leave it on. I generally only put it on nearer to the end when I'm like changing proportions or that kind of thing. Okay, somewhat like that. Okay, that's looking cool so far. Remember to check it out to see what it looks like in terms of the subdivided model. Okay, things that I like to look out for, particularly when doing this stage of it, so the very low poly body version of the character, is make sure that it really flows and looks connected to your head. So be aware of that. Sometimes it does look like the body is a little bit like just stuck underneath the head, or the head is just shoved onto the body, and sometimes that looks weird. So be aware of that. That's important. Okay, so now I'm trying to get edge loops in place so that we can extrude the arms. Okay, I'm leaving it very low res at this point because adding in all the other detail will add in a lot more edge loops. So we don't need to do much more than this right now. Let's look at the back quickly. I think that needs to come out a little more. Okay, so that should be cool for now. Now what we need when we do the arms is basically 4 faces, so like those, that we then extrude for the arm. However, I don't want it to come all the way back from here. I prefer it to be there. So now I'm just going to move these points around a little bit more so that I have them there, and then I'll just smooth out that extra edge loop just now. So this will work a little bit better. I'm not sure if the arm's really going to go as high as I would have drawn it there. Let's just slide some of these across there. If you double tap G, then it slides along the surface of the mesh, which is also very nifty. Okay, so there we have that. For now, let's just move that one last up there, and that one there. Okay, so now we can use those faces to extrude an arm. Okay, so if you just press E, obviously E for extrude, and then how I go about doing this is I first extrude the whole arm just from one polygon, okay, to make sure that the arm is straight. So for instance, ignoring what my reference is doing now, just as an example, I would do that so that my arm is modeled straight, and then add in the rest of the detail in the rest of the arm. So adding the elbow and all of that. Otherwise, if you do immediately follow your reference drawing, then your arm doesn't always keep a straight line. So it's just a way to get a little bit neater. But before I do that, generally what one also does is we need to consider where the shoulder is going to be. And a nice way to get some decent topology and edge flow for the shoulder is to extrude this section like I've done there, and then to build the arm out of those faces over there, which you then extrude down. Which works especially for characters with pronounced shoulders like this dude. That works quite well. So that is one of the edge flow tricks that works well for, sorry, there we go, which works well on these kinds of characters. Come on, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to do that, find out where that is, that doesn't need to be there. Okay, and then as I said, I'm going to do, I still want my 4 faces, so they're going to be those ones now. Okay, so I can, preferably before I extrude it, just make sure that this is a nice rounded shape. Okay, somewhat like that, perhaps coming in a bit there, and then use those for there, which you can first of all scale flat. Okay, so somewhat like that, rotate a little bit, and then extrude the arm from there. Okay, so again, his arms aren't quite at a 45-degree angle, they're a little bit off, but it should be fine. It shouldn't cause too many issues later. But you can see now, definitely has a very a nice edge flow for that whole section. Okay, so let's make sure that this works well. Okay, so that's there for the rest of the arm. I do want to turn off the subdivision surface modifier just for a second, or at least while I'm doing this bit. Okay, so let's add in where we would expect to find the elbow. So somewhere over there. Here's a bit of a thicker forearm, so we're going to do something like that. And that should be fine for now. My approach to doing this is to, regardless of your reference, to try and get a very basic proportion of your character done before you go and add any detail. That way, if you do want to change the proportions of your character, so improve on your 2D design, there's not that much geometry to move around. So if we keep it simple for now, at least, it does make it easier to tweak the design of the character at a later stage, which does help. Okay, so let's go down to the legs and just get the basic legs done. Again, I want to scale that edge loop flat, so I'm going to say SZ to scale that down, and then I'm just going to rotate it not that way a little bit, and then put it down to where his waistline is over there. Before we do that, let's just go into sculpt mode with the grab tool selector, so just tap G or select that icon over there, and I'm just going to make him match my reference a little bit more just by pushing these in, making sure everything works well. Cool. Okay, somewhat like that. I think that should be fine for the front view. Let's check the side view out. Maybe just add another edge over there. Okay, so far so good. Okay, then we can quickly do the legs. Let's see. So the body tends to go a lot quicker than the face, obviously because it's a less complicated shape. So it does make it a little bit easier. I'm going to go back on what I did earlier, and I do want to just close up his waist hole, just to make it a little bit neater to extrude this down. Here's somewhat, let's just space these out nicely. I don't know why the transparency disappears the whole time. Okay, so let's fill that up. That was just F. Earth to Stefan. I don't know if anyone knows how to turn on that little thing that shows you what keyboard shortcuts you're pressing. Anyone? No? Screencast keys, I think it was called last time. Wait and see if he says anything. Okay, so I'm just going to fill this up. So I'm basically, let me just show you. There's actually two ways to do this. If you had a open edge loop like this that you want to fill, if you press Control F, you can say grid fill over there. Two edge loops. Okay, apparently not. Let's fill it up and see if we can do it again. Nope. Okay, grid fill sometimes works. I don't know why it's not working now, but it basically goes and fills it up, trying to connect all of the. I think it's because it's on a boundary. It fills it up, trying to connect all the faces, so you still have a quadrilateral layout. If that doesn't work, just press it with, or fill it with F, and then use your knife tool, which is K, and then you just draw in the extra loops. So somewhat like that. Okay, so there we go, now it is filled up. Okay, so far the shape looks cool, I'm happy with it. We'll definitely still add in a lot more detail at some point, maybe play with the proportions or whatever. But let's get the legs out quickly, and then that is pretty much it for the basic shape that we have. Let me just do this quickly, that bugs me. I must say the modeling tools in Blender are very intuitive. They work very well. Okay, let's get the legs out. So I'm basically the same as what I've done for the arms. I just want a very rudimentary shape so that we can very easily still change the proportions. Okay. So with my front view on, I'm going to extrude that down a little bit. Okay. Now what I basically want is it's always awkward modeling the crotch of a character, so I always model them with like underpants on. So let's pretend he's got underpants that are somewhat like that. And then the legs, I'm going to inset that so that we do get a gap in between his legs by creating that edge loop. And then, sorry, we can pull that down a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure what this looks like in the side view. Okay, let's just, if you press Control and okay, they've broken that. I don't know what the go selection is anymore. It used to be Control plus and minus. Select more and less, yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to select these again. Okay, now it's, yeah, there we go. Control plus and minus on your keypad. Grows your selection, so it's easier to make big changes like this. Technically speaking, from a side view, that's his bum over there. So this would need to be rotated back a little bit like that, I think. Okay. We'll play with the proportions a little bit better just now, but let's just get his leg out so long. And then we're done with the basic shape. Okay, so let's go side view. Sorry, not quite there yet. Back into my sculpt tool. Let's move that up a bit. Smooth it out. Okay. I'm going to extrude that down. Try and scale it flat. It's very good to have edge loops that are in line if you look at it like that, particularly for rigging and that kind of thing. Let's pull them down again. Okay, and then I'm just going to give him like little stumps for now, which is basically his heel, and then we'll extrude the foot out of that front section. But again, we'll do that next time when we're doing the hands and all of those bits. So I'm just going to select that whole section over there. Let's move that across. So he does have like slightly knock knees. There we go. Make them thicker, like our reference. Okay, and then we can go and just pull some of these around before we go and tweak the whole character. That was a bit rough. Transparency on. Okay, and as far as a basic shape goes, that's pretty basic. But more or less for now at least, what we've drawn. Let's just go back into my sculpt mode, big brush, and just pull these around a little bit without breaking it too much, hopefully. There we go, that's a bit nicer. Okay, so for now, that is exactly where we want to be. So as I mentioned, what we can do now quite easily is we can go and readjust all of our proportions, or if there's anything that we didn't like about the design initially, we can really go and play with the basic shape, and more so with the body than the head, because a lot of the exaggerated proportions happen in the body, because it's so much bigger, obviously. And that is that. Okay, so we can clearly see where we're going with this. Okay, matches our reference quite nicely. Low poly body, very easy now to change stuff. And then we take it further next week. Any questions? Except for the people next door. Okay, I will upload this video as well as the one from last week today. I'll try my best. The files are quite big, so they do take long to export and all of that, but I'll try and get that up as soon as possible, and I will share that on Classrooms as soon as I can. Okay, but other than that, I will see you guys on Thursday in your major. computer's gone rogue. Someone's doing something next door. And yeah, we'll see you guys then. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good week. All the best.
So, on what class are you post it?
Huh?
On which class are you going to post?
The major.
3D animation.
Cool.
How would like us to submit our drawings?
On, I think I made an assignment on Classroom, but yeah, on Classroom.
So we scan them in.
If they're on paper, then yes, just take a photo of them or scan them in. Just the contrast a bit.
For future, I'll try to do all the way.
Whatever you feel most comfortable with. That gives you the best results. Yeah, it takes a while to get used to it, but it's definitely worth the effort. Cool. See you later.
Can I show you some drawings?
Yep. Yeah.
I did go and
Right.
make a few more drawings. There's more pictures. It's the exact same display on this.
Okay, cool.
Do I need to add the detail to this model as well, or to this drawing as well, for the toes and everything?
Yes.
Okay, so just draw the clothes onto the,
Yeah. Like I did now, I've got an outline of his body.
yeah,
And then,
so this would be my outline of the body, just draw the clothes and things onto it as well?
yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
Cool, man.
Thanks.
It's getting there. I think leave it at that point. Let's get a 3D model and then we can adjust it. Okay, so if you get it to this point now, then it's very easy to go and change things and move things around and that to improve on it there. So the basic idea is there, the basic proportions are there. If we go and make things bigger and smaller later in 3D, then that's fine. Okay, cool. See you later. Have a good week. How do I stop you?